All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for coming. I know the middle of the day is sometimes hard for people to attend, but I think you're going to get a lot of value out of the presentation today. So, the thing I always like to ask people is, and you can put this in the chat, is what do you know about color analysis, or how did you hear about it at all? I think a lot of people heard about it via like TikTok or Instagram, all those things. But it's one of those things that's really difficult for people to understand, seemingly. And I think it's something that it's really cool to bring into your style quotient, into your wardrobe. Social media, great. So I'm going to get into that today. And my name is Sarah. I am a color analyst and a personal stylist. So I do in-person color analysis around the Bay Area, and I also help people clean out their wardrobes. So many years ago in the 90s, I had my color. Oh, cool. She was a cool back then. That's a great question that I will get to at the end, but no, your colors don't change throughout the course of your life. So it's a really great thing to invest in yourself. Great. So color analysis is a way to find the colors that are going to suit you best, you personally, the way that you are uniquely built to be in this world at this time. Um, so why are we here? I think that's a great question to ask. Like, why I care about this? A lot of people come to me because they have just a closet full of neutrals and they're getting kind of tired of it. I think color is an interesting thing because it's very psychological. People have very emotional responses to color. But it scares people a little bit because I think there have been times maybe in the past where you've purchased something and gotten it home and been like, why don't I ever wear this? Something is off about it. Or you don't know how to mix and match colors. So I think color analysis is a great way to start with that to understand how to pick colors that are going to suit you. So I'm going to go over today what is color analysis, why it's helpful, and then give you an understanding of the basic principles of it. Help you understand, at least somewhat what your season might be, and talk to you about how to use color analysis in your life. So I'm Sarah Liller. I'm a personal stylist and color analyst. I have almost 15 years of experience in the fashion industry. I've been a designer. I've worked on photo shoot sets, and I help people rebuild their wardrobes. So I help smart people design functional wardrobes they love, and color is one of my favorite things to talk about. My mother had her colors done in the 80s and had this little swatch wallet around our house, something kind of like this that had all of her colors in it. And I remember her telling me things like, "Oh, you should wear lime green or you should wear turquoise blue." And it's kind of interesting how that's come back into my life now that this has made this resurgence. So, what's keeping people from wearing colors? What I find from a lot of people is that maybe they have a short list of colors they like, but they don't know how to expand upon them. For example, I always knew that I looked good in red, but I was like, well, what other colors would look good on me? And it was kind of hard to know exactly how to expand upon that. Sometimes there's items in your closet that you maybe always put on and take off, and you never know why. So then you opt for neutrals instead. Fear, like you don't want to waste money on buying clothes and colors that don't suit you. And of course, black's so easy, right? I always hear that. Black is so easy. But the thing is, you can wear color. And the good news is that everyone has colors that look amazing on them. And the way to figure this out is color analysis. So, what is color analysis? So, color analysis was developed in the 1980s by Carol Jackson. It's based on a seasonal system and on color theory. And this is a copy of the original book, which I mean is so 80s. I love it. Um, so essentially, it's based on color theory, and I'll get into the like details of that. It gets a little bit in the weeds, but I'll try to talk through it. And feel free to save your questions. I'll be answering them at the end. So why should you care about this? So there's a lot of benefits to color analysis. The number one for me being that you look younger and more refreshed, which, once you get into your 30s and 40s becomes more and more important. It will naturally whiten your eyes and teeth. You don't have to wear as much makeup when you wear your colors. It saves you a lot of time and money when shopping because you can look through, like a website and be like, no, 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 yes, yes. It just helps to cut through all that noise. It gives you an understanding of what hair colors, jewelry, and nail polishes are going to look best on you. It helps you to shop for makeup, which is also super overwhelming, but you're going to have an understanding of how to have, the most natural looking beauty. And then you'll be able to create a wardrobe with it that will seamlessly mix and match and have a wow factor with every outfit. So color theory, basically, you can use three different ways to describe color. You can describe color three different ways. The first one is undertone. So that's how warm or cool a color is. So warm colors have more yellow added to them, and cool colors have more blue added to them. Um, Also, there's the contrast or the value. So how light is a color, how much white has been added to it, and then how dark is a color, how much black has been added to it. This is probably the easiest to understand. And then finally, saturation or intensity. So how bright a color is. So think about this Crayola crayon sort of red versus how soft a color is. So how much gray is added to it. And that's all those like soft, dusty colors. So we break that down into the seasons. So each season can be described by one of these different colors. So, for example, this is winter and this is autumn. What they share is that they both are dark. The opposite of that would be light. So we have spring and summer over here. Let's talk about undertone. So winter and summer are both cool, and spring and autumn are both warm. And then finally, that idea of intensity, spring and winter are both bright, and summer and autumn are both muted or soft. So depending on where you fall in these different ways to describe you, there is a color season that corresponds with that. And you can kind of see it here. People who have like darker hair and eyes, they tend to go into these darker seasons. And then people who are a little bit lighter go into the lighter seasons. People who have a little bit more brightness to them go into these brighter seasons. And people that have softer or more muted appearances go into the softer seasons. And finally, people who have warm undertones go into the warm seasons, and people who have cool undertones go into the cool seasons. So we want to have harmony in the way we look. So we want to find colors that are going to reflect how we fall into those categories. So for example, Blake Lively here, she's a true spring. She looks really beautiful in light, warm, bright colors. Like look at how her eyes really glow in this. Once you put her into something cool and muted, she loses all that glow and that luminosity. It's too cool for her. Or somebody like Jennifer Lopez, who's a true autumn. She looks fantastic in gold and warm colors. She just glows here. And here in the silver, all I see is this dress. I don't see her face at all. And she's lost some of that beautiful, healthy glow that she naturally has in her skin. And Lupita Nyong'o, who is a bright winter, she looks amazing in beautiful, bright colors, in neutral tones that are slightly cool. But once you put her into something that's more dusty, it just loses its brightness. I mean, there's a lot as a stylist for me to dislike about this dress, but she obviously looks amazing in this one. And then finally, somebody like Sarah Jessica Parker. Sarah Jessica Parker has very soft features. She has a very muted appearance. She's a soft summer. She looks best in these beautiful, soft, dusty colors. When you put her in something super bright, all I see is the dress. I don't see her face at all. So understanding undertone is the first step in this whole process, and it's the hardest to understand. It's basically a factor of how colors look next to your skin. And it's a factor of your biology. It never changes. So people who naturally produce more keratin in their skin have warm undertones, and people who don't have cool undertones, and that's why you see more of a blue or a pink appearance to their skin. Your undertone doesn't change if you get a tan, for example. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the cool undertone seasons are winter and summer, and the warm undertone seasons are spring and autumn. So someone who has a warm undertone, they have a warmth to them. They just have a golden sort of glow to their skin. And this will be enhanced by anything that they put next to their face. Somebody who has a cool undertone almost has that blue appearance to their features, blue or pink. And what happens is if you put warm colors next to their skin, they turn kind of yellow. where if you put cool colors next to a warm undertone person's skin, they start to look kind of green and shadowed. And then an undertone isn't an overtone. So an overtone is something like olive skin or a tan or having very rosy tones to your skin. Christina Hendricks here has a warm undertone, even though she has a lot of pink in her skin. And Penelope Cruz over here, she has a cool undertone, even though she has olive toned skin. I've seen her in an orange dress and it's horrible. So I know she has a cool undertone. And finally, how do you determine it? So there's a lot of lies that people say about looking at your veins and all these things, but these are the ways that I think are the best. So the first is the metal test. So gold versus silver. You can do this with jewelry, but I'm just showing you an example here with my sad photo. I have warm undertones and gold makes my skin look more vibrant. It makes my eyes pop. It makes the hair and my eyebrows have more dimension, and it makes my lips look like they're a healthier color. When I put myself in silver, I look kind of pale. I have darker circles under my eyes. My eye color goes very flat. It just goes like a very flat gray, and so does my eyebrow hair color. And then my lips look kind of blue. So overall here, I just look kind of pasty and pale and tired. And here I look kind of more vibrant. Another thing you could do is a white piece of paper. So you could take something white and put it next to your skin and see if you look more yellowy peach or orange or more blue. I've done this personally with friends that have cool undertones to compare, and they look kind of blue or pink, and I look very yellow next to a white piece of paper. Draping with warmer, cool colors. So I love the example of red, for example. So this is a blue toned red. It's got like a blue tone to it, and you can compare that to a tomato red or an orange toned red. What you'll see is that if you have a warm undertone, an orange toned red is going to have more harmony with you, and then a blue toned red is not. You can do this with lipstick colors as well. And like I said, what doesn't work is color of your veins and also looking at your eye and skin colors at the surface level. There's a lot of quizzes online that will do this or AI tools that will do this, and they are not very accurate because of that reason. So let's talk about muted versus bright. So that has to do with how much gray is added to a color or how clear it is. So when you look at two people, you want to think about them in terms of a black and white photo. So Sarah Jessica Parker over here is very muted and soft. You see all her features just kind of blend in with each other. Nothing is standing out. But someone like Megan Fox, who's a bright winter, there's super high contrast here. Her eyes really sparkle and glow. So she can handle these beautiful bright colors, while Sarah Jessica Parker needs things that are a little more soft and muted. And then light versus deep, like I said, is the easiest probably to comprehend. It has to do with how light your features are or how deep they are. So people who have deeper features, it's a much more sophisticated look. You can handle some much more sophisticated dark colors. People who have lighter features look better in pastels. And what happens is that dark colors will look very heavy on someone who has light coloring, and light colors will start to wash out someone who has a lot of depth. So getting into the seasons themselves, True Winter is where I'm going to start. This is the palette that's the most misidentified, but also everyone wants to be it. So it's cool, bright, and deep. So people who are true winters have cool undertones. You can see all these people have kind of a bluish pink tone to their skin. They also have a lot of depth. They have darker hair and eye colors. And then there's a lot of contrast there. So the difference between the color of their skin and maybe their hair color, or even the whites of their eyes, or they have brightness in that they have these really bright jeweled eyes that kind of sparkle. So all of these people would be considered examples of true winter. True spring is warm, bright, and light. It's all of these beautiful, juicy colors for spring. Springs have a warm tone to their skin and their eye color. They tend to have a brightness to their appearance, and they're also very light in coloring. So a lot of the times a spring will have an eye like this where it's very light, but it has this dark circle around the outside that gives them higher contrast and allows them to wear these bright colors. And true summer, so this is cool, soft, and light. You get all these beautiful dusty shades. This is what sea glass or the colors of the beach kind of look like. And they have a softness to them. All of their features kind of blend together, They have cool undertones, so you can see they kind of have like almost a blue or pink tone to their skin. And again, they're all very light, so they look better in lighter colors. And finally, True Autumn, which is warm, soft, and deep. I find, at least in the Bay Area or the people that I work with, this is the most common palette that I've diagnosed people as. Um, it's very toasted and rich. So people who are true autumns have a beautiful warmth to their skin. They do have that softness in their appearance. It's very muted. And then they also can have a lot of depth to their appearance, but they just have like a really strong warmth to them. So to make things more complicated, in the 1980s, we only had the four pillar seasons: spring, winter, autumn, and summer. But what people realized is that sometimes people don't fit neatly into these four pockets. And so the palettes were expanded. And so now there are palettes that go in between these seasons. So everyone will have a home season, but they will maybe not, they will also maybe have some shared features between the two. And so they might be, a light, for example. So let's say someone has a warm undertone, but they are slightly less warm than what a true spring would be. And then they maybe have some summer characteristics. So when I'm doing a drape on them, I'm like, oh, spring's the best, but you know what? You also look good in some of these summer colors. It's hard for me to choose. That's a perfect candidate for a light palette. So then light, I would test on them and say, okay, yes, light's the best. You are a light spring. So that means that you have a slightly warm undertone. It's more neutral because you're mixing a warm and a cool season, but your palette is light. And here's some examples. I love showing how just amazing and diverse our world is and people, and how you can match them up to all these different color palettes, and they just look beautiful with these. So applying color analysis to your everyday life. I'm just going to go through the pillar seasons here. These are some things that I always call out to these different palettes. So for somebody like an autumn, autumns look great in texture. I love autumns when they wear like big chunky knits. You just want to have everything be very toasted and warm. For winters, they can really handle that very trendy, high fashion sort of look. A lot of contrast in the patterns is really good. Metallics are great for them. And they just are so bold looking that bold styles really work for them. Summers, it's so much softer. You want to do tonal. So, a lighter shade with a slightly darker shade is beautiful. Or with prints, you want things to be kind of a watercolor, no solid edges, nothing graphic like you do on a winter. And then for springs, I know by experience, because I'm a spring, it's one of the harder palettes to wear because you picture things like this, and this looks really fun and amazing. But you can also really lean into these rich, creamy neutrals if you aren't super into color. So why is neutral is a misnomer? So I hear a lot of people say, oh, I just wear neutrals because it's easy. But every palette has a neutral that's going to look the best on them. So autumn is going to look best in this beautiful like chocolate brown. Spring, it's camel. Winter, it's true black. Summer, it's this beautiful cool gray. Even within a color like navy, you have all this variation. So autumn has a very warm dark navy, almost like a teal. Spring has a very light, bright navy. Winter has that very dark midnight navy, and summers have this very soft grayish navy. Even whites, we have cream with autumn. We have like an ivory with spring, a true white with winter, and then an antique white, which is a white with a little bit of gray added to it for summer. So even within your palette, you can find those perfect neutrals that are going to look the best on you. This also extends into your makeup. So there's so many things that you can do with your makeup that will reflect your palette. So you'll want to keep things within the undertone, within the level of brightness and contrast, and also with the depth. So somebody like a winter or a spring can wear very bright lipstick colors, warm and cool respectively. But somebody like a summer, they can't do the super bright. So for them, it's better to have like a very blended look on the eye with a smoky eye with like a nude lip. And then for somebody like a winter, or an autumn, excuse me, you want to keep things very warm and golden. Where for summer or for winters, you want things to feel very almost like silvery in a way. Hair color is another thing. So your hair color does not change your color analysis, but it can change the colors that look good on you. But what I find too is that if you're wearing the wrong colors, that sometimes your hair will look like you're wearing a wig. So for Julia Roberts here, this is the perfect hair color for her true autumn. When she does this very cool black, almost black brown, it looks to me very fake, like she's wearing a wig. Same with Cameron Diaz here. She's a true spring. She looks best with these lighter, more golden highlights in her hair and this very cool black. Again, it looks like a wig. Poor Emily Blunt. This is a terrible hair color for her. She's a true summer. So that like soft muted brown is what suits her the best. And Kim Kardashian here, who's a winter, looks amazing with her natural dark hair color. Whenever she goes blonde, it really washes her out a little bit. It's a little bit better because she at least does a platinum that's a very cool toned blonde, but it's still not as good as this. So getting professionally analyzed, the process is that either I would come over or you would come to my studio. I would drape you in a ton of different colored fabrics, and we would figure out what your undertone is, what your season is, and if you are a flow. And then once that's done, I would talk to you all about what that means for you, what colors are going to suit you the best, and what metals you should wear. And then you get one of these cute little swatch books put in your purse to use when you shop. And all the smiles are real on this, I promise. It's such a fun experience. And like I said, it's a one-time investment in yourself that you can do. And it really affects your style. And it's a great tool. I always tell people I think it's the single most effective thing you can do for your personal style. So I can help you do this. I can also help with putting outfits together, cleaning out closets, doing all the things. This is my Instagram. I post a lot of free content on there. So go ahead and give me a follow at Sarah Liller Styling. And you can always reach out to me via email at hello@stylingwithsarah.com. And I can open it up to any questions that anyone has.
Where
Hey,
is
Sarah.
your,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna ask, where is your studio?
I'm based in San Rafael.
Okay.
But another thing that I do that's super fun, I just want to plug, is I do color parties. So if you get together 3 to 6 girlfriends or family members, I've done it for husbands too, which is men love it because they love rules. It's super fun and you get a little bit of a discount, and I can come over and just do all of you back to back. And it's a really fun experience to watch each other get analyzed and guess what everybody is.
Okay. Yeah, I told my husband about this. He was like, "Oh, that'd be kind of cool." He always say I look good in red.
I love that.
But anyway, someone else had a question.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think doing it as like a fun activity with girlfriends would be really cool. That's a great idea, and a good way to like have an excuse to like go shopping, right? To kind of redo our wardrobe because I can imagine. I mean, I did have it done a long time ago, and honestly, I don't really remember very many of the rules. So it would be really helpful to kind of sit down and learn all that again. And I have a feeling just by watching your presentation so far, a lot of my wardrobe is not in line with my best colors anymore. So I'd probably have to get rid of quite a bit and just sort of start fresh, which, it's always fun to have that reason to shop.
Absolutely. I think especially when people are going to go on a trip, like go to New York or somewhere where they're planning to shop a lot, or they're buying clothes for a vacation or redoing their wardrobe, especially if you're redoing your wardrobe, you have to do this before because it really does help to guide you. And if you are working with like a Nordstrom stylist or even doing it on your own, it's just so powerful to be like, okay, this is what's going to look best on me. Obviously, you can go outside of that. Like I'm not supposed to wear black as a true spring, but I still do. But I know how to cheat it. So I just put on a lipstick color in my palette, and then I put on a lot of gold jewelry to add that warmth back to my face. So it's good to have the rules, and then you know what to do if you're going to break them.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. All right. Does anybody else have any questions while we have Sarah live?
How much is it for a service?
Yes. So for individual, it's 400 for one-on-one. If you do two people at once, I'll do 350 each. And for color parties, it's 300 per person.
Okay.
My question is about the overall concept, because growing up we never did all this colors. You just wore something, whatever was handed over to you. And what I notice when people talk to me is the brighter colors I wear, the more I tend to get noticed. I typically go for safe colors. I'll go with a black or a brown, typically black, safe, goes with whatever. But I think I just blend into that color. So, while the dress might be nice or whatever, it won't stand out as much as a red or a yellow, or even a kind of a turquoise blue, if I can say. So, um, how do I work that in? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
want to all go around in a yellow because
Yeah. So one thing that's interesting is that everyone has their perfect red or their perfect yellow or their perfect blue, teal, green. So it's not like, oh, I can't wear X, there is a version of that color that's going to be perfect for you. What I think is great is if you don't want to stand out in a crazy way, just putting color in smaller doses. So there's fun ways to do that, like just getting like a shell that you wear under a jacket, just that pop of color is going to add some visual interest, or doing a scarf in your colors. Or even a pair of earrings. Like if you even just had a pair of earrings that had a little bit of yellow on them and it was up by your face, if that's a color, like the tone of yellow that suits you best, that's going to be a great way. And then pops of color in accessories like a shoe or a bag is a great way to start. But I tell people, like, if you just want to do head to toe neutrals, but you wear a lip color that's in your palette, like people are going to stop you on the street because that's such a chic look. So there's lots of ways to incorporate small doses of color when you're starting to experiment with this and understand what looks the best on you, so that you don't have to go out and buy like a full dress and like a really bright color if you don't feel super comfortable in that. There's just ways to insert it. Like even if you had a black and white print that had a little bit of fuchsia in it, if that was a color that looked good on you, like that's a nice way to incorporate just a little bit of color to just start dipping your toe in until you get super excited about it and then buy, the bright yellow blazer.
yeah. And I have another question for you. What made you actually get into this as a profession? I feel it needs a lot of knowledge, confidence, especially because this is going to be also on someone else. And so much of it is related to comfort, confidence too. So how did you consider?
Yeah, I love this question. So I was a clothing designer for over 10 years. I had my own clothing line and I loved it. It was very creative, but it didn't feel personal enough for me. I really wanted to have one-on-one connections with people. And all my friends told me that I was the best person to shop with because I'm really good at seeing other people in my mind and seeing clothes on them. So I think to be a good stylist, you have to be able to get outside of yourself and your own personal style and viewpoint and understand another person on a very personal level. And I really like to get one-on-one with people and understand them, their personality, because so much of that you can convey in style and how you dress. And it's also a nice way to just kind of push people outside of their day to day, because we all look at ourselves in a certain way. And sometimes it's nice to bring in an outside person to be like, wow, you've got a great décolletage, or wow, you've got great arms, or like, oh God, your skin is flawless. Let's try to highlight that. So it's a great confidence booster for people because I'm very honest and I don't BS people. I'm also not getting commission when we go shopping, so I don't care if you buy things or not. But I'm just there to be your partner in this whole process and like really guide you through so that you understand why I'm picking certain things, why they work on you, and why things don't, because then it makes it not about you and your body and your coloring and all that stuff. It's about that garment. So, you know, it also is a beautiful way to come into who you are as a person and accepting that and really celebrating it in a beautiful way and feeling really confident. So, I know my own personal journey. I grew up and didn't have the best self-esteem, and I felt like clothing was the way that I was able to, you know, say what I wanted to say without having to get outside my shyness too much. So I think it's a good way to kind of get people to a point where they do feel a little bit more confident, and maybe that makes them speak up at work more, or, you know, go to some party that they might not have gone to, or just feel better about how they dress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In your services, do you also go over like what types of fabrics look good on certain people?
Yes, I think that's a really important part of it. Like, for example, you know, if you have a curvier body, typically like very stiff fabrics don't work as well. And vice versa. People who are very straight, oftentimes, if you put something really drapey on them, it just hangs and it doesn't look right. So I do go over that. And I also speak a lot to quality and how to look for quality fabrics, and also how to look for fabrics that are going to fit into your life. Because I know with a lot of moms, having washable things is really important. So understanding what to look for in that, so that you don't have this closet full of dry clean only stuff that you just don't wear because it feels too precious.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Seems like we got some really good questions. I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, yeah, yes to washable. Yes, washable is important. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure to talk to you all, and I hope that you got a lot out of it, and that you know, whoever watches it on the replay, if you want to get in touch with me, again, Instagram is probably the best way, or my email.